All right, so most importantly,
oh yeah, we dropped that twice. Oh god, okay, oh wait, I think this is not what we're supposed to do, is to pour when it's doing this.
do we just do this?
I don't know.
How do you drink beer?
Gaia and Sarah
Save the world. Guinness. Cheers.
These are reusable yellow Solo cups. These are not cheap party cups. We like the environment more than that.
These are for the environment.
You're welcome, Earth.
Save something else.
Hi. Welcome to episode 2 of Gaia and Sarah Save the World.
I'm Sarah,
I'm Gaia.
and we're saving shit.
You're welcome.
So today, we're going to talk about social media.
Yes. This is like a topic here I go with the likes. I'm trying really hard not to say like. We could talk about social media for probably 13 years, but we're going to try to minimize it to the things that we think are most important.
Yeah. So, we made notes. Surprise.
Shocking. I think that we should start by just talking about how involved everyone is with social media before going right into statistics.
Yeah.
Our lives have changed so much since there are so many social media platforms.
Totally.
Starting back with MySpace. Again.
All about it.
MySpace was great when I was in high school, but we didn't have smartphones. So
Right.
it was limited to when you were home from school or home from work. Basically, for me at least, it was like something I did at nighttime.
Yeah.
And it's not something that you brought with you everywhere, so there was a lot of disconnect from it.
Right.
And maybe that's part of what made MySpace so special, was because we went home and got to do
Yeah, I
it.
was gonna say it was almost like a place that you went. It was like
Yeah.
an area of your house that you
Mhm.
went to be on the internet.
And now, you see people at restaurants, driving, hanging out, and they're constantly, in their phone.
Driving.
We have our phones right here, so yeah. And then you're at a red light and someone's not going because they're literally sitting on their phone on their Instagram doing stuff
Right.
because they can't even do a 20-minute drive without being glued into their phone. So I just feel like what social media has morphed into with how many platforms and how tied to even our shopping experiences,
Totally.
our friendships, promoting relationships, everything.
Right.
It's just almost turned into this massive monster.
Monster! Massive!
I'm the monster! I think that social media has changed a lot, but so we're going to talk about the current ways that it's used and the effect that it has on people individually and as a society, and share some of our stories.
I do want to say that there are probably benefits
Oh, for
to
sure.
increased connectedness, and there's lots of stuff about social media that's super cool.
Yeah.
And neither of us has made the choice to completely be off social media, so
Yeah.
we each find some value in it, but from now on we're just gonna bash the shit out of it.
Okay, so yeah. There are positive things. Maybe we should acknowledge those first.
I can't think of any.
I can't.
I'm kidding.
I have met actually quite a few friends through social media.
Yes.
It kind of started with MySpace, but some of my closest friends today are through social media platforms.
I got tattooed by a social media friend.
Yeah, did you go to Canada?
Yeah, I went to Canada to get tattooed by my LiveJournal friend.
Oh my god, can we just
Yeah.
cut the episode and just talk
It's
about
only about
LiveJournal
LiveJournal
the whole
from
time?
now
Can we
on.
talk about our friendship
We
developing
know
on
each other
LiveJournal?
because of social media. Why did
Okay.
I not even think of that?
But we technically know each other because we went to the same high school, but it doesn't count.
We met in real life, and I think we had the same homeroom class one year.
I thought we had chemistry.
or something,
Which
and
I failed.
didn't talk to each other.
Yeah.
Except on LiveJournal.
Okay, so let's start with that. That's
Years
positive.
later, we hung out in real life, and we were like, well, I know everything about you. Hi.
So there's no point in even having to say anything. I know everything.
Yeah.
What's up? Yeah, it took us years to hang out
Yeah.
in person.
Yeah. Crazy.
Super fucking weird.
So in conclusion, there's great things about social media.
Yeah. Social media is also really good for supporting like independent artists, small
Yes.
businesses,
Yeah,
stuff
I was
like
gonna
that.
say I use them at work, and it's great for managing a business. It's
Yeah.
awesome. It's a great way to connect with your clients and new clients, and keep in touch with people who have moved away. That's a great thing too.
Yeah, I think it's great for all types of artists too, like
Yes.
musicians getting their music out to people that
Yes.
maybe would have never heard it otherwise. Models, just I don't know. It's just a great way to discover.
It changed
a lot
the
of people.
barrier to entry of a lot of industries, which is cool.
And I feel like it's given extra wow
Terrestrial.
it's given like extra paths towards supporting artists.
Yes.
Which I think is great because art is such a struggling, starving world.
Totally. I think it's also good because it can expose you to totally different worldviews and totally different cultures, and just help you almost travel without having to physically travel.
Yes.
You can be exposed to different ideologies, but there's a whole horrible flip side to that as well.
And that is what we're going to dive into.
It's also easy to reinforce your own like worldview bubble too.
Yeah, that's another thing is God, we're kind of jumping all over the place.
Maybe we should look at our
Okay,
outline.
we're gonna cut it and go to the outline.
The outline.
Okay, you start.
So we wanted to touch on some kind of stats about social media, which personally I think are really freaky.
Very terrifying.
So most people spend 2 hours a day using social media.
And you have to think that that is averaged out of all age groups. So let's really narrow in on for
crazy.
younger people. So let's say like 15 to 25. That is more likely to actually be about 4 hours.
Totally.
So keeping it just at 2 hours a day is supposed to amount to 5 years and 4 months of your life
Just looking
on
at a
your screen. Not living, scrolling, just...
It's wild because there's so many other ways that you could use that time, and so many people feel strapped for time all the time and don't. Time. Now we're gonna cut out the word time.
Yeah, that's gonna be like the thing on our shirt.
Yes.
Under
time.
Like basically
Actually.
time. Yeah.
Literally time.
Yes.
So it's so easy to feel like you don't have enough time to accomplish the things that you want to accomplish, but you actually spent that time on your phone without even knowing it because it just adds up. So that's a huge, scary statistic. And if you're one of those people, I mean, we'll talk in the end about like things you can do to fix it, but I would put an app timer on your phone.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I actually wasn't aware of how much time I was spending on social media until I took the apps off my phone for like 3 or 4 weeks. Or no, wait, I didn't take the apps off my phone. I just logged out.
Yeah.
And unconsciously, I would pick up my phone to do something else,
Totally.
and I would hit the button to open the app, even though I had already accepted I'm not going to be doing it.
Yeah.
So there wasn't even a conscious thought, and I'd hit it, and it would say log in, and I'd be like,
What
am I doing right now? And that is how, like, we do it so much that we just naturally do it without even thinking.
Totally.
You open your phone, you're probably not thinking, I'm going to check Instagram. You just flip and go to it.
One good tip that I now follow is to move the icons on your phone around. Because you're always in the habit of going to that same little shortcut. So just move shit around all the time so you don't know where it is. And you have to actually think, do I have to dig through all my apps to find Instagram? No, I don't need to open Instagram. It's not that deep. Like,
yeah.
So.
I think that using it in moderation is really good.
Totally.
And that's the way that most things in life kind of are.
Yes.
Not doing things in extremes is healthier. If you are one of those people that is using it 2+ hours a day, just calculate at the end of the week how many hours that is. What is that, 14 hours? Mm-hmm. Simple math. Got it.
It's 14, y'all.
Think about what you could have done with 14 hours extra in your week.
Yeah, totally. I'm all about waking up early, but a lot of people don't want to wake up early to get that extra hour in your day. You have that extra hour not at 5 a.m., but just by not looking at your phone as much.
Exactly.
Reading.
Okay, do you want me to do the next one?
Yeah,
okay.
sure.
this because I love talking about this stuff. So studies are consistently finding that people who score higher on the Narcissistic Personality Inventory questionnaire tend to have more friends on Facebook, tag themselves more often in photos, and update their statuses more frequently. This is something I have personally noticed. I'm not on MySpace. Wow! I'm not on Facebook anymore, but when I was, I could see this. Like, people that I know, like, actually well in real life, they were promoting themselves so differently online, and it was multiple statuses a day. Everything had to be this, like, clever, like, fuck you type of statement. Mm-hmm. So they just are looked at as, like, oh my god, you're so funny. Your life. And that's not even what their life is like. They're just, like, screaming for attention. Yeah. And this is something that narcissists use social media platforms for. It's like a constant promotion of themselves.
They're reinforcing the created but false image they have of themselves.
And it's so easy behind a screen because you can say anything you want. You have the time to think of the perfect way to word things. And this is something I actually see on all social media platforms. People that I know actually are narcissistic promoting it, but they're like marketing it in a way to people to where they seem like, I'm just really confident. But the words that they're using give away the truth.
Right.
And it's just, I don't know. I think it's scary that there kind of is platforms for people to have a bigger voice for this type of stuff, but also just look for the signs. People that are constantly maybe over-exaggerating every micro accomplishment that they have, every good deed they're posting about. This is usually a red flag that something is not all up there.
Yeah, if they're amplifying themselves and talking themselves up as the only function of their social media.
I'm awesome because, and then, the posts. That's scary. Look out.
Another thing that's bad about social media is it actually can increase the amount of money you're spending. There was a big study done on Facebook that Facebook users, the more time you spend on Facebook, the more money you tended to spend with online shopping. I don't know for sure because I didn't read any other studies based on other platforms, but I do imagine that just spending time on apps that are filled with ads is going to tempt people to spend more money. I personally own some Instagram brands.
Yep, me too.
Because Instagram convinced me that I needed certain things.
And it definitely works.
It completely works.
Their marketing strategy is...
I'm like, why would I get this exact same thing at the store when I could have the one that I need is from Instagram?
It's so convenient because you're scrolling, you long tap the photo, it takes you directly to buy it. It's genius. Like, bravo to the businesses doing it because it works. But I've also been guilty of this as well. Whenever I'm super tired about to go to bed, I'm scrolling and I'm just like, wow, I need this $200 half sweatshirt bodysuit that's in euros, so it's even more expensive. Order. What am I doing?
We want to upgrade our camera because this camera only lets us record for 21 minutes at a time.
And then we have to keep getting up and pressing re-record.
Yeah, so probably the first big investment we'll make into the show is a new camera. But until then, we're just going to have weird cuts.
Deal with it.
Deal with that. Sunglasses.
What were you talking about?
Buying things because Instagram tells you how to make your life better.
Yeah.
You need this makeup. You need this luggage. You need this clothes. This clothes.
This clothes. This cloth.
You need this cloth to put it on your body.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's a thing.
It also really negatively affects women's body image issues
Completely.
that we already have outside of these platforms.
We have that with no influence at all.
This kind of, there's so many starting points for where this comes from, but something really toxic in our society is that women body types become actual trends. Almost like fashion, but it's literally body types.
Right.
And this is such a bizarre thing that actually links back to misogyny, but we'll get into that at another point in time. Let's talk about some. The one that always comes to my head right away is the thigh gap.
Thigh gaps were a huge, important thing. And I remember the first time my thighs touched each other, I cried.
Yeah, I remember, I'd never heard of anything like a thigh gap. And I guess when I'm more underweight, have that.
Yeah, I had one for most of my life until I was about 25.
And I would have never actually looked at that part of my inner thighs and been like, look at that small space. This is so attractive.
Look at
it's
me.
fucking stupid.
Right.
It's a fucking space.
Right. It's an absence of something. Like,
wow.
Weird.
So hot.
Yeah. Love it.
I remember, like, it makes you, like, hyper-focus on all these things that you may have not actually noticed about yourself before.
Right. Yeah.
And they don't matter.
At all.
Thigh gaps don't fucking matter. And I remember reading this study that, I can't remember what the number was. It was like it became like the second or third most common cosmetic surgery.
Oh, yeah.
When this was an internet hype.
Totally.
That's how much we are influenced by the things that we see, especially on Instagram.
And now it's become so easy to Facetune and edit your photos that as a normal person looking at Instagram, you can't tell whose body is real, whose face is real, you know, what proportions are real. So you are, whether you want to or not, creating unrealistic expectations for what your body needs to look at. And there's another problem of people just not disclosing certain cosmetic work that they've had done, and which, you know, I'm like, people can be private, they don't have to disclose stuff, but if they're like outright lying and saying they didn't have anything done when it's pretty obvious that they did, that's very harmful and very toxic. And like right now, like thigh gaps aren't even trendy anymore.
They're gone.
No one
It's like it never actually happened.
It's like bigger thighs and big butts now that are really trendy.
It's basically like being thick, but it's actually more extreme than that because it's an extreme hourglass.
Right.
So it's having really big boobs, micro waist, huge ass, huge thighs. And you know what? There are some women that naturally look like that, but I'd be willing to say that 80% of women, they don't look anything like that. And these impossible body standards, it's hard to say where they originated from. I think that it's a male fantasy thing that's unrealistic, that we then think, oh my god, this is what men want, and this is what we wanted, this is how I want to look.
Right.
And so we then think, oh my god, I need to get cosmetic surgery to look like this, or whatever. You can grow certain areas of your body through working out.
Totally. Absolutely. But what's not advertised is that it takes years to do it. And there's a lot of women who are, you know, totally honest about what their bodies used to look like versus what they look like now, and what it took to get them there, whether it was being in the gym 2 hours a day for 2 years straight, or 5 years straight even sometimes, or whether it was surgery. But there's a lot of people who aren't honest about that, who are using apps to alter their photos and represent that as their real body, and or their real, you know, their real skin, even, like, just all kinds of stuff. And
I get so on the fence about this stuff, though. I kind of go back and forth because with Photoshop and stuff for modeling, that's been like the standard.
Totally.
Like, you put out an image that's supposed to be perfect, so like small like imperfections are taken out.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess some people go a little bit further with it, and honestly, I think it's really obvious. Like, when you look at someone's photo and like it is cut in at their waist, like sharp. My hands are like, okay, like that. Then it's really obvious that no one's body is cut sharp. Like that. Then it becomes more obvious, and I feel like things can be edited to have a more dramatic or artistic feel to them, and it can make sense. But I feel like younger people are looking.
I think it's almost like the tendency for people now to edit even. You know, here's a photo of them and their friends, you know, they're just like hanging out and they're still like editing that. It's like once they've set a certain standard of what their body is supposed to look like, they're making it look like it looks like that all the time. Whereas when it's just like you're modeling photos and you're like, this is, you know, an editorial artistic piece versus here's what I look like in real life, that's a totally different thing where it's easier for people to kind of distinguish that.
I just think it depends on how we're using it and to what degree, because I think a lot of young women don't actually know that some people are manipulating the photos and they're thinking, why doesn't my skin look like that? Why doesn't my body look like that? But something outside of editing is just please believe me on this, a lot of it is angles and lighting.
It's 100%. Yeah.
I can take photos of me that make my ass look like fucking Texas, and I can take photos of me that make it look like it doesn't exist.
Yeah.
It really is angles and lighting, and people are posting the more favorable thing on Instagram. So you just, when viewing photos of women on Instagram, just remember that it is controlled content.
Yes, and try, and it's really difficult, but just do your best not to compare yourself to anybody else.
Yeah, that's something that I think we all do.
Totally.
And it's so terrible because you drag yourself and over things that don't matter, like, oh, well, my thighs aren't as big as hers, and that's currently what's really hot. Who fucking cares? Like, I think part of
10 years from now, it's going to be different again.
Exactly. It's going to be something completely opposite.
Right.
But I think that women get so stuck on this, like, being sexually appealing thing because they want to attract a partner.
Yes.
And the thing is, if you're looking for actual love, like real love, it doesn't fucking matter what the size of your thighs are. It has nothing to do with it. So that's not going to keep you from finding anything.
Right. And for more in-depth a look at all of that, not just with social media, but just with magazines and just the way women are presented in movies and all of that, there's a great book called The Beauty Myth, which is infuriating. Like, the whole time you listen to it, you'll just get so mad.
Love
but
that.
It's really good.
Love being angry.
I'm just angry all the time.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's a whole episode unto itself about
we'll go
how
there.
unfair being a woman is. But
yeah, our beauty standards are off the screen. That's how high it is.
It's fucked.
And they're being compared to beauty standards that are, you can't see my arm, but it's down on the floor.
Off the screen the other way.
Actually, that's your dog.
Hi, Mommy.
That was on the floor.
Aww.
Okay, so we're gonna move into the social media effect on our mental health.
Basically, just don't look at social media, or else you'll be sad.
Though you probably found this through social media. We don't really have a choice. That's the only way to reach people.
That's it. Social media can lead to increased loneliness and depression.
Yeah. The depression comes from body image issues. Looking at people posting like they're having the time of their life, they're happy 24/7. People making their relationships out to be these like hyper romantic fairy tales when they're really only disclosing like this much of like what's actually going on.
Or even going into debt over the things you're buying because you want your life to be more like someone else's. Or I've read a lot of articles about influencers going into debt because they have to maintain a certain lifestyle in order to keep their following and keep people interested in them.
I'm like dying to go off and talk about this for a minute.
Okay.
Something that I get questions about on my personal Instagram is people asking, how do you grow a following? I want to be an influencer, I want to be an alt model, and so I'll just try to really summarize this to not talk about it for an hour. People think that being like a model or an influencer is like this super desirable, like amazing life because they see photos of it looking amazing. To be completely realistic about it, unless you are a like top tier influencer, like I hope I'm not wrong, one of like the Jenners or the Kardashians was involved with that Fire Festival and got paid like $250,000.
That documentary
to post about it. That's what being a top tier influencer is basically you are being paid to advertise something because you have a following. Being an influencer or a Instagram model really doesn't equate to having a massive income 90% of the time. It may look that way on the outside because you see them in locations or wearing clothing or makeup. These things may be comped or free, but it doesn't equate to an actual income that is massive. Every once in a while it does, but it's very, very uncommon.
Totally. And a lot of the people you see whose job is to be an influencer actually started with wealth and were able to afford that lifestyle in the first place.
Yeah.
And it's not the other way around.
I mean, you could be one of those people that gets, lucky and gets some big deals, but if you think that you are realistically going to live as an Instagram model or influencer, you are probably wrong.
Now, having a side hustle is always a great thing, and
always
totally do that. I recommend that to everybody, no matter what amount of money you're making. You should always have more than one stream of income.
Exactly.
But, you're probably not going, again, it's like a get rich quick thing. People expect it to be.
It's the quick fix.
There's not a quick fix.
You're not going to be a $150,000 a year influencer in 6 months or a year, likely.
Right.
If you want to do it as like a side thing, do it. It will bring more income in. It's definitely brought me some income, but it's not to where I'm like fucking balling and living off of it. That's impossible.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of times because we see very limited posts from influencers, we tend to think that they live this very like lavish lifestyle, and most of the time they don't. Most of the time it just equates out to having a normal paying job.
Totally. I saw, maybe it was in the Fire Festival documentary. I can't even remember. You can pay by the hour to rent a private jet to just sit in it and make it look like you have a private jet. Like there's all these ways that people manufacture and fabricate the lifestyle to maintain their influencer status.
Yeah.
I should stop doing air quotes all the time.
So this isn't exactly being an influencer, but it's kind of related in the world of like Instagram model stuff. I see a lot of young girls that want to be alternative models, and that's totally fine, but I think that you should go into it with realistic expectations.
Yeah.
Most even well-known, like very well-known alternative models have like 5 hustles going on.
Right.
Modeling is only one of them. So I think a lot of girls are under this impression that they're just going to blow up and be these alternative models on Instagram, and that's it.
Right.
But there is not a lot of money in alternative modeling, and you usually have to have multiple other things going on.
Yeah.
So it's not to discourage anyone from wanting to do it, but just be realistic with it. It's not going to be you living in like a mansion because you do alternative photo shoots.
Don't put all your something in a basket.
Can't say eggs.
It's a dumb non-vegan analogy.
We don't like that.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, it's throwing eggs in a basket.
Fucking lame.
I hate it.
But don't do that.
Don't do that.
Social media also affects mental health because it's a huge distraction.
And addiction.
So it's actually better to save your social media time to one long chunk during a scheduled time of day. Like either do it a couple hours before you go to bed or do it on your lunch break or something, but just do it all at once, and then either take the app off your phone or log back out of it, or disable it using app timers. Because if you're constantly checking it all throughout the day, it's all these micro distractions that are pulling your focus away. It is a complete myth that humans can multitask. We do not multitask. God. We actually task switch very quickly, which makes you worse at every single task you're trying to do. You're just doing it all shittier. So instead of being able to do anything at 95 to 100%, you're doing everything at like 70%. You're just bad at everything you're trying to do. And social media and just phones in general.
It's overstimulating because we're seeing so many people, so many activities, so many lives, so many products marketed towards us. It's just so much that our brains actually can't handle.
You got this email. Don't forget that you got these notifications on this app that you have to clear out. Turn notifications off. Notifications are awful.
I have my notifications turned off for all of my social media apps. I don't see anything until I actually open the app.
Yep.
And it gives me like anxiety to think back to like when I didn't have it set that way, and it would just be like constant all day, and I was like, oh my god.
It's happening. And with that, we could talk about opening your apps and seeing those notifications and comments and likes and all this actually gives your brain a dopamine hit, so it's just the same as gambling. So social media is literally addictive, and you have to be careful about those notifications.
Yes, you do. Especially young people.
Yes, yeah. And that's another reason it's better to just limit your time to more of a chunk, because then you just see all the notifications one time instead of multiple times throughout the day, seeing them. And things are more addictive if it's a randomized reward. So sometimes there's a lot of notifications, sometimes there's none, sometimes there's only a few. That's actually more addictive for you. That's why slot machines are so popular, even though nobody wins on slot machines.
I just have never understood the appeal of the slot machines. Like,
I don't understand the appeal of gambling at all. I'm like, in Vegas, like,
I liked it, like, the first couple times I went.
Yeah.
I didn't know what I was doing, but I actually won some money. But slot machines, it's just, I don't get it.
Yeah.
It's not exciting to me.
No, same. But that's essentially what your phone is. It's a pocket slot machine.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, social media can also have benefits for productivity. Like, if you're having fun at work, then that boosts productivity. Yeah. But again, just constant distractions, not good.
Especially when people are even away from work, like things like when they're hanging out with their friends or their significant other or their family, whatever the scenario is. I hate when I'm like out at a movie or a restaurant, and I've seen, this is the worst for me. This is the absolute fucking worst. When you enter a restaurant and you see a couple that is clearly there on like a date, and both people are at the table just... They're not even saying a fucking word. Like, can I break you guys up?
Yep.
Just get off your fucking phones.
Look at each other.
What's the point? It's just so stupid. It's not even probably a conscious thought. It's that they're so addicted to being in their phones that they're like, it's like breathing at that point.
Yeah.
Oh, I hate that. Anytime I see that, I want to be like, go to the table and be like, hey guys, want to talk about breaking up? Because this is sad.
And of course, you can't know their life. Maybe they've been talking all day and
who
they're
knows?
just
Maybe,
zoning out.
Maybe I'm crazy and just want to break them up.
Probably they should just break up. Probably.
Break up.
Your phone in general and social media addiction is just something that exacerbates this. It makes you sleep like shit. You shouldn't look at your phone, especially before you go to bed.
Yes.
Because blue light, one, makes you go blind.
Yep.
Two, makes your body not produce melatonin. Did I make that up?
No, you're correct. You're correct. That's why I switched my blue light filter on 24 hours a day now.
I do that too. Even though it makes your phone
yellow,
uglier, it's less appealing to look at, but blue light is really bad for your eyes and it makes it so hard to sleep. So it's recommended to limit screen time before bed to like an hour before you go to sleep. You got to stop looking at your phone.
That's what I do.
Don't keep your phone in your bed. Keep it somewhere else. If you use your phone as your alarm clock, stop. Get a different one.
I've gotten so much better. Like, I still sleep with my phone in my bed.
Yeah.
But I switch it into Do Not Disturb about an hour and a half, 2 hours before bed.
That's what I do too.
And I stop looking at social media. My reasoning for doing that actually isn't the right one, like we're talking about. It was that for whatever reason, whoever I look at on social media within an hour of going to sleep, I dream about. And it would happen.
That's rude.
It would happen
Get out of my dream.
every single night. I would just scroll by someone I barely even know, and bam, they're in my dream. And so I was like, okay, you know what? I am really sick of dreaming about these people.
Yeah.
That's how I started cutting it back before bed. But for health reasons, you should do it too.
Totally. Well, I stop before bed because that's when I'm like the worst. I think it's because I'm worn down, I'm tired from the day, so my ability to just like cut it off and say no is at its absolute lowest. So I will just be scrolling and then I'm like, shit, it's been 2 hours.
Where did my life just go?
Yeah. So I really like to turn off the social media before I go to bed.
Yeah.
Social media and infidelity.
Yes. So without us even having to fully go into it, I'm sure you can imagine that with having all these new platforms of being hyper connected to everyone that we've ever known, people that we don't know, that it's definitely increased cheating.
Totally.
I forgot to write down the exact study for this one, but divorce papers in like the last, I think it said like 8 years, almost all of them include social media.
That's crazy.
Yeah, because I guess it depends on what type of relationship you're in, but most people are in monogamous relationships. There's just something about social media where these like microaggressions, where people are like looking over them and thinking that they're not a real thing. The best example I can give you is, okay, say you were with your significant other and you're walking through the mall.
Yeah.
And someone really attractive walks by. You notice that person and you register in your head that that person is attractive, but that's where it starts and that's where it ends.
Right.
Whereas social media, when you are finding someone attractive, you hit the like button, which publicly lets everyone else know, plus that person know, hey, I like you.
Right.
It's different when it's a very human thing in your head that you don't have any control over versus making a public statement out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where it kind of blurs the line into exclusivity and boundaries.
Yes. And it can spiral out of control, and I think it feels innocent at first to people, and then they just bend the rules a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more.
And then it goes from liking photos to talking in direct messages when, there is a level of emotional exclusivity you're supposed to have with your partner, because what leads into cheating isn't two people just decide, we're gonna fuck right now.
This is it.
It's that connection that forms usually through just talking in general.
Yes.
Because people always they wonder, how did I end up in this position where I'm having an affair? Well, it started with creating some kind of an emotional bond.
I remember reading, and I'm pretty sure it's true, that it's extremely common for affairs to happen with coworkers, because they spend so much time around each other, and it's like the grass is always greener effect, where you're like, yeah, my marriage is fine, like nothing's really wrong with it, but I really like this person and they're paying more attention to me than my husband or my wife who's really busy, and then affairs in the workplace start because of that. And social media makes it really easy to create that same effect where you start spending more and more time with somebody else in the form of messaging them and interacting with them on social media, and then emotional affairs start that way, and then they can lead into something else.
It's also really hard because back in the day, even before our time, when people would break up, there would be a level of separation that was there.
Yep.
But with social media, it's so easy to stay tied to people from our past.
Totally.
That it's not giving you a healthy environment to have that separation. So there can be inappropriate conversations that just start happening with people of your past, whether you initiate it or they initiate it with you. It's that connectedness. So it's really important to not, what would the right word be? Disregard things as, oh, it's just social media or it's just this. That's an excuse.
Yep.
Because when you're in a relationship, it's about commitment, boundaries, and exclusivity.
100%.
And trust.
Yes.
If you were ever liking or messaging a person and you know that if your significant other saw what you were doing, it would lead to a fight or be a problem,
Don't do it.
That is a huge red flag.
Yeah.
You are doing something wrong. If you ever feel the need to hide your behavior, your messages, you are doing something wrong, or else you wouldn't have the impulse to hide it.
Right.
Hold on. So there's lots of terms that I remember reading about. One of the studies that we included here. We're going to include studies at the bottom of the notes underneath the video. It's a term called breadcrumbing, which I had never heard of, but after reading into it, we all know exactly what this is.
Totally.
Breadcrumbing is where you give little bits of attention, either consistently or inconsistently, to multiple people to keep them kind of tethered to you, whether it's a like or a heart on a photo.
A bunch of backup plan people.
That is exactly what it is. And this is something that you should really be aware of with other people, because this is something that narcissists and psychopaths do.
Yes.
And it's how they utilize social media to have a never-ending supply of people to feed into their ego or to just entertain in general. So if you ever see someone engaging in this type of activity with multiple people of whatever their preferred sex is, this is a red flag. Totally. Especially if they are in a relationship. This is what a fuckboy is. I mean, I'm sorry, but a fuckboy is a misogynist, and they utilize social media to just use women as a currency. Just how many women can I have commenting on my posts flirtatiously? Can I have in my DMs? How many, sadly unstable, low self-esteem women can I be engaging with just to keep around as an option?
And so it happens where you've been talking to this person, you're kind of talking a lot, and then it just goes silent, and then they randomly hit you back up. but then it goes silent again very quickly, and then they randomly hit you back up, and it's an ongoing cycle that keeps you just hopeful enough that you aren't like, goodbye, and blocking this person.
Yeah, they're giving you the bare minimum just to make sure that you don't walk away, and these periods of silence are usually when they are entertaining another person, or, oh, I don't know, maybe hanging out with their significant other that you probably don't know about.
Right. Yeah, 100%.
So yeah, social media
makes that behavior easier. So, you know, I can imagine that could have happened back before cell phones, but it just would have been harder to facilitate that kind of behavior, and now it's very easy. It makes me think of the movie Her, which I love that movie.
Oh my god,
where she's like, oh, I'm talking to like 7 billion people right now, and he's like, what?
Yeah.
It's just like that, where even though in her brain, she's like, but I can talk to all of them equally. It's fine. And that's a whole other thing because she's like a hyper intelligent AI. But, you know, in these people's brains, they're like, what?
It's different.
It's fine.
But it's not different.
On the other side of it, Joaquin Phoenix is like, this is so hurtful. Because it is really hurtful. You don't want the emotional investment you're making in somebody to be unmatched and unmet. That's extremely painful when you realize that somebody's talking to 10 people and you're just one of them.
And that's a huge red flag that there's something really off with them mentally, and that's something that I want to make sure to point out, like really dead set red flag things that you can spot through social media. We already covered like people that are constantly promoting themselves in like a really narcissistic way where it's like, I'm awesome, or I did this great deed. Well, now in the form of infidelity, if you are ever like on, I'm just going to say Instagram, and you see someone that is engaging with so many people in a flirtatious way, all the comments, like you know that they're DMing tons of people, they follow like 5,000 people of their preferred sex, but they have a significant other. This is a red flag that this person does not actually respect any of the people involved in this situation. Yeah. Because remember, a healthy relationship includes exclusivity, honesty, and boundaries. And if you're engaging with multiple people, even if it's an innocent, flirtatious comment, that is not putting boundaries into place with people that you are not in a relationship with. So sometimes it's best to step back and view people almost as like an observer. Yeah. And just watch their behavior. Someone's behavior online will actually tell you a lot about them. Yeah. And you can kind of vet people out like that, and that's something I really want to stress to women. Watch his behavior, if you like men. Watch his behavior on social media. You will find out how he values you and how he values women.
Just block those people.
That's another thing.
Delete them.
Like, don't ever feel guilty about unfollowing people that are participating in something that's really unhealthy or toxic.
Totally. I've unfollowed people that I'm friends with just because their feed is a bummer, or you know,
or it's just like blowing themselves 24/7.
Pictures of dead animals. I'm like, hi.
Yeah, don't even get me started. We'll cover that in the veganism episode.
But you know, you can unfollow and get rid of anything that you don't like. Now, again, you don't want to create this bubble where you're only reinforcing your own worldview. You do need to spend time reading opposing views to your own, but I would say that doesn't have to be in the form of social media. That can be really in the form of doing research where you're researching multiple sides of each story. But as far as social media goes, like, I don't know. I don't think my Instagram needs to challenge my, you know, worldview.
No, honestly, I know this sounds weird, but that's kind of what I use Twitter for. Yeah,
there's finding out more stuff on Twitter. And sometimes, I mean, my like blocked word list on Twitter will include a lot of things depending on what's going on, like politically. Yeah. I'm like, I just can't have this bumming me out all the time, but then I'll kind of put it back and just, you know, it's tweak it to what I need at the time, and always just protect your mental health when you're online.
It's important that even if you have the same beliefs as some of the things that are being talked about on social media, it can be too much. Yeah. And it can be overwhelming, especially if you have like past trauma involving it. Yeah, completely. A lot of women are feeling really triggered right now with the Donald Trump stuff going on, and they're having flashbacks to sexual assault, and it's so it's so great that it's in the media, that everyone's talking about it, because it's getting the right kind of conversations going, and we have Me Too to thank for that. But at the same time, if you are seeing back to back to back to back assault stories, it really does damage you.
It can weigh very heavily on you.
It started to fuck me up, because I was sitting on Twitter, like, being a part of this and talking about it and talking to people and retweeting. And next thing I know, I'm like, I have literally read assault stories for 2 hours of my day, and I feel so stirred up from things that have happened to me that I'm miserable the rest of the day.
I guess it just goes to everything in moderation, like put a cap on it, whether you're looking at opposing stuff or looking at stuff that reinforces things you're passionate about. Like the Me Too thing, I was obsessed with it.
But it was so triggering at the same time, just to even be a part of it.
Yes, and I mean, I'm still obsessed with it, but I definitely had to dial that back, because it just makes me angry all the time.
That's something I'm trying to actually improve on, is muting a lot of stuff that I see on Twitter, because while I very much believe in it and these statements are true, getting too emotionally wrapped up in it is ruining my mood on a lot of days. Yeah. I don't like to spend, half of my day being angry about terrible things that are happening to other people that I've experienced. And it's not that you should hide from the truth, but it really does come down to moderation.
Well, and it's very easy to feel very angry and feel like the entire world is so fucked up if you're just looking at constant daily updates of the daily news. Overall trends of the world, infant mortality is going down, crime is going down. Like, overall, humanity is trending better, even though right now it can feel like we're just plummeting into, like, the apocalypse. And it definitely feels like that all the time, but that's not actually the case. We're just in a very tricky time, especially in the United States right now.
And it seems like that because a lot of things that weren't previously talked about are being talked about at such a high volume that it can feel like this is all that is happening.
That's all there is.
These things were happening before. They just weren't talked about so much because social media wasn't where it's at now, where we're so connected.
Yeah, and now everyone has a camera in their pocket where they can make a video and a photo of every horrible thing that ever happened.
Yes.
So if you want to look at horrible things, you can do it all day, every day, forever, and still not look at all the horrible things.
That's actually, the Instagram live thing that we did a year ago, and we talked about a lot of stuff. I got a lot of messages from young women telling me their stories, and I'm talking, I'm not even exaggerating, there were hundreds.
Yeah.
And I did read all of them, but it's very hard to read about people's really tragic stories, especially when you get so many of them. And I felt bad not responding.
Yeah.
But it does take such a huge chunk of me to take it all in emotionally and then give something back out on top of it makes me re-experience my stuff.
Right.
So you just have to be really careful. I'm not really sure where I was going with that, but that I don't know. I just lost it.
It's just tough. It's tough, and the internet is really great at making you feel bad in a lot of ways. I think that's just the overall theme, is that the internet can make you feel very bad, even though it has a lot of great things about it. We're more connected than we've ever been, but because of that, there's all these challenges that we've never faced before.
And something that I feel like we should have covered in the first part is that with all of this social media use, we're actually seeing extremely, shockingly new developments of low empathy in humans and a giant rise in narcissism. I just read a study that was on Psychology Today saying that our generation was where we saw the massive, shocking spike in obesity, but something that actually almost mirrored the number of the rise in obesity was the rise in narcissism.
That's wild.
Isn't that insane to think about?
That's completely insane.
And a lot of that does have to do with social media, because you have to look at the sudden drop in empathy.
Yeah.
And you can't have solid empathy and also be a narcissist.
Right.
So these things go hand in hand.
So the empathy, is that suspected that it's because we're literally flattening people into two-dimensional strangers on the internet?
What generation is it that's 2 below us?
below. They're beneath us.
You know what I mean? Two segments younger.
Generation X and Y?
I thought it was
Z?
Z. No,
Generation...
Z is one below us, right?
I think it's...
One of the younger generations.
Oh, you mean one younger than us?
No, two.
So not millennials, because we're like old millennials.
Yeah, we're millennials, but what's underneath us?
Like as in younger than us?
Yes.
Okay.
So I don't know why I keep saying that. I see it on a scale, like, or a chart, or fucking something.
I don't know. Generation Z, I think Z.
Whatever it was, I read another study. If you can't tell, I spent a lot of time on psychology today.
Me too.
It was a study about that generation, how they in particular have dropping low empathy levels and less actual solid relationships and friendships. So it wasn't just...
Their screen time starts when they're born.
Basically, and that's what they were talking about, is actually making their empathy levels go down. And it's why a lot of that generation is caught up in situationships instead of relationships.
Yeah.
And it's because without their empathy levels being at like normal, they have no desire to actually have something deep and committed.
Wow.
And so they're in these like, well, we're going to act like we're in a relationship, but then, you know, we're not actually in one, and we don't really care, and we're just on our phone all the time. And it has to do with being so disconnected from your own humanity. They're missing out on something that is beautiful, which is genuine human intimate connection.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not having solid friendships because instead of going out and hanging out in person, they're all just staying at home and just scrolling on their phones. And without consistent time put in, how can you have a solid bond in a friendship or a relationship?
You can't.
And that's...
Everything will fizzle out that way.
That just... Low empathy in general in that topic makes me really sad.
Me
because
too.
I think that that's what makes us so unique.
Yes, because it gives you a deeper experience of the world. Not that other sentient beings don't have a deep experience of the world, but I think
very different.
Humans, just the ability to try to understand the experience of those around you is incredible.
And it's so funny because as I'm getting old... God, I'm getting so off track. This is what I always do. I'm like, we're here, let me go here.
This way.
I think that empathy is fucking amazing.
Yeah.
And I think that it's one of the most attractive qualities that someone can have, especially in 2019.
Yes.
Because so many people are what I would consider dead inside, or drones. Can you tell I like Muse?
Yes.
That's how it feels. I feel like a lot of the time I'm just around people... like vessels. They're just in a human body, but there's really nothing below or underneath the surface. But when you meet someone that is truly empathetic and they actually care about things outside of themselves. Oh my god, I almost that was a great
point. Oh my gosh.
That's fucking amazing. So just try not to let social media or our way of life in 2019 suck the soul out of you, because it really will if you let it.
Yeah, don't get defeated. You know, stay above it, but you have to be proactive about it.
Standards.
You can still enjoy social media, but you do have to have standards and set boundaries with
Boundaries. That's like the biggest word that we can probably empathize. Hi, I know how to talk.
Emphasizing your boundaries.
Boundaries are so important in every aspect of your life. If you want to be healthy, whether it's with work, whether it's with diet, social media, relationships, friendships, you have to have solid boundaries. And if people don't respect that, say bye.
Bye.
See ya.
And boundaries are really just learning how to say no to things.
And knowing what you have to be self-aware enough to know what you're comfortable with.
Yes.
And being able to say it.
Yes. And then not go back on it and be confident in what your boundaries are. And your boundaries can change. You know, they can be different at different times.
And make sure that you're holding yourself accountable for your own behaviors, the way that you're using social media, the way that you're interacting
Which
with
we're going to do
other
a
people.
whole episode on accountability and responsibility, and we'll just be screaming the entire time.
That's why I have a more screamy episode than this one. But being accountable is so important. Be accountable with your fucking behavior online. Stop making excuses. Stop being a fucking piece of shit.
Stop it.
Honestly, just think. Like you said in our last episode, the why, know the why in what you're doing. Why are you posting this photo? Why are you putting that caption? Why are you messaging that person? Why are you leaving that comment? Stop it. Are you being accountable? You're probably not. Probably not. You're probably being a piece of shit. Don't be a dick. You know what I just realized? They probably can't hear the whispering.
We can add it. We'll add the whispering.
Okay, we'll add that.
They.
Hi. Okay, yeah.
So the solution to social media is to set boundaries with it
and have realistic standards about what you're seeing too.
Start over on social media. Just think about what your current habits are and probably change all of them. Take breaks. We talked about it in the first episode, but take breaks from social media. Like extended, long breaks. And when you come back, you're going to be like, why did I care about this?
Yeah, seriously. Like, unless it is your actual job to promote some aspect of your life, like you were being paid to do that, then just realize your friendships, your face, your relationship are not like products that you need to market 24/7 to the world. Enjoy them for what they are. I'm not saying don't ever post about them, but realize when you're posting why you're posting.
Yeah.
Are you posting just to share an aspect of your life, or are you posting to brag?
I'm very big on living more deliberately.
Yep.
And just have intention with everything you do.
Yeah, and that also goes back to knowing the why.
Yeah.
Be self-aware enough. Even if you have to ask yourself with every micro thing that you're doing, why do I want to do this?
Well, yeah, because you'll make it a habit to the point where you'll retrain the way you initiate any behavior.
Yeah. Does this have my best interest in mind? Am I just being really egotistical? Think about it a little bit before you act on it. Like, do we want to share some social media related stories, or what are you thinking?
I'm trying to think of any crazy ones I've had.
I've got about 4 million.
I know you do. I had people being mean to me on Tumblr, but that was it. It wasn't even mean.
Really? Tumblr?
Mm-hmm. Remember Tumblr?
I thought that Tumblr was just for reblogging porn.
Yeah, I had like one photo of myself on there, and I have like self-injury scars, and people were like really mean about that. And then
even though they don't even know your fucking story.
Right. And for a long time I was like, I don't want to post pictures of myself online ever again.
Oh my God.
It was just gross. That one stands out to me because I haven't had that happen on other platforms, though I've been lucky because I know that happens to a lot of other people, but that was the only kind of instance of somebody commenting negatively on my appearance that I've had, but I do have a lot of friends who deal with really awful things being said about them online. And I think it comes down to understanding that the people making those comments are probably very incomplete.
That's usually what it comes down to with bullying and stuff like that on social media, is that people, sometimes it's best to remove yourself emotionally from the situation, view it as an observer without your emotions being heightened.
Yeah.
And just look at the actions of the person who is doing or saying something against you, and 9 times out of 10, it really doesn't have to do with you. No matter what they're saying, it doesn't really have to do with you. It's about hatred
them,
that they have inside for themselves, and something about you triggers an insecurity about them.
Yes.
I mean, gosh, I could share a lot. Basically, a lesson that I have learned is that when you don't fill in the gaps or answer the questions that people think they're entitled to, they answer it for you.
Yeah.
And they decide who you are, what your life is, what actually is going on, and they spin it and they spin it and they create it to be whatever to fit their narrative about you.
Yes.
And because I have kept a lot of aspects of my life private, that leaves like holes for people to fill in the answers to.
Yes.
And so I watched as like hundreds of people did that about me for years. And then it turned into a giant smear campaign against me. And I mean, it was like people that are super young, it's people that are older than me that were like participating or creating this. And it was actually like, I never talked about it because I didn't think that acknowledging something negative would actually be a good thing.
Right.
But to be completely honest, it was horrible. Like, it had such a negative effect on my life, even though nothing that was being said about me, nothing, not a single thing was even true. But I knew that because of how, like, big it had gotten, it didn't matter what I said because people were already deciding who I was, what I was about, what my life was like.
Making all these assumptions.
It didn't matter what I said. So why even say anything and feed into something that's so fucking stupid and such a reflection of how much these people hate themselves.
Right.
To even do this to a person, like, talk about fucking bullying. Like, how much of a terrible person are you to create something like that to people that you don't even know?
Right.
And so to me, I was like, this is such a giant, blinding spotlight on who these people are and not me.
Right.
But yeah, it had a really negative effect on me individually. It had a negative effect on my personal life. And it's why I stopped showing my personality online for years, because I felt like anytime I revealed anything genuine about myself that
people could use that.
Yeah, they would just twist it or they would make fun of me if it didn't fit a perfect stereotype of whatever subculture they were in. So I just stopped, and my life literally became like inconsistent, like selfies or things that never had anything to do with what I was doing, what my beliefs were, what my personality was, what my interests were, because I knew that no matter what I said and did, it would be twisted into something bad. So I'm finally at a place where I've done everything in my power to push these types of people and that part of my life away, and I'm being myself now, and it's really fucking fantastic to feel like I can be myself. And you know what? If people don't like it, or they feel so much hatred towards me, they have to say,
that's on them.
That's on them, and it literally makes them look ugly.
Right.
Like, leaving hateful comments on my Instagram, vague posting about me, direct posting about me for like a fucking year and a half. Like, oh my god, it doesn't make me look bad, it makes you look like you're insane. So that is not a part of my life anymore, and it's great to have my social media platforms finally be around who I am as a person.
Yeah, how great to be on the other side of that shit now.
Yeah.
That was for so long.
Oh, I know. Yeah. All my friends know about it. Like, my friends were stalked. My family was harassed. Like, shit got fucking wild. But, hey, let's not leave it all gloomy. Things are great now. But just know that social media can be really terrible, and your actions towards other people really do impact them.
Yes.
And it says a lot about you, sadly, if you're someone to engage in stuff like that.
Totally. The person on the other side of that social media platform is a person, but it goes with that lowered empathy. It's so easy to feel like they're not a person.
Yeah, that was the main thing, is like the people, I hate to get back into it.
I know.
The
well, like, anonymity protects them and amplifies their negative voice and the things that they probably need to shout and yell about in a constructive way. They're instead funneling it into this really destructive, hurtful behavior at the expense of other people.
And it's people that you don't even know.
Right.
Stop thinking that you know people that you don't know.
You don't know them, and you can't, you won't, and it's fine.
Yeah, and just leave it at that and live your own life. Even if you see something or someone that you don't necessarily like, you don't actually have to talk about them. Surprise. Believe it or not, there are people that I dislike, and I'm not going to ever talk about them.
Right.
Wow, I feel like we like blew the fuck through this.
I know. Racing. Well, it's because we've been talking about this topic for so long.
That's very true.
We've spent a lot of time on it. And then just a little bit more time planning this episode than we did planning the first episode.
Mm-hmm.
The first episode, we were really like, I don't know. We have to
Here we are.
something. Let's
We're
do
making
it.
a podcast,
Yeah.
I guess. So the episode was kind of heavy, so we decided that we were going to go back and do another MySpace survey.
Yeah.
Why are you where you are right now?
We're filming our show.
We're filming our show. I'm not sure if you've heard of it. It's called
Gaia and Sarah
Save the World. Maybe you've possibly heard as you are watching it.
Follow us, subscribe to us, go to our website. I don't know how to
click all that stuff.
Do the things. We're on every podcast thing now.
Everything. Spotify, iTunes, Stitcher things.
Stitcher, Overcast, YouTube.
Did you used to watch Blue's Clues?
Yes, and I remember when everyone thought that the host of Blue's Clues was like a child molester or something, but then he wasn't.
Yeah, and then something about him. Was he actually a drug addict?
Or was he on drugs or something?
Something insane. We were like, oh my god.
Jeff. Was his name Jeff?
I thought
Joe?
it was Steve. Was it? Did I just make that up?
Did I just hiss? I thought it was Joe. Did it switch to Joe? Was it Steve and then the new guy was Joe?
I don't fucking know.
We just figured out Blue's Clues. I remember all the songs from that. And I think I was too old for it, too.
We were definitely too old. What's your opinion on people wearing high heels to school?
I mean, I wouldn't do it because that shit hurts, but do whatever you want. I don't care.
I love heels, but wow, fuck up your back.
Yeah.
Go for it. I really do. I love heels.
If I wear heels, I wear them to see a movie or like something where I'm gonna sit down the whole time.
Somewhere where they won't be utilized at all.
What game systems do you own? I have a PC Master Race Spy.
Well, okay.
Actually, I have a Nintendo Switch too, and I used to have a PS4, but I gave it away.
I have a PS4 and an N64.
The best.
Yeah.
I do have an N64 too. It's the best.
I love N64.
Yeah.
Are you a Twilight fan? You know what? I fucking am. And I am so fucking sick of people trashing the fucking boys of Twilight.
People hate Twilight.
You know why people hate Twilight? Because women love Twilight.
Yeah. I listened to something else. Lindsay Ellis.
The face you made.
I'll put a link in our show notes. She makes these incredible YouTube like documentaries almost about film, and they're from a feminist perspective a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And she had this video like bashing Twilight and Stephenie Meyer, and then she made an apology video to Stephenie Meyer, and it's so good. And I think that perfectly encapsulates my feelings about Stephenie Meyer too, because it was basically just like, yeah, could you identify like problematic things about these relationships? 100%. Watch that video because it's how I feel about Twilight.
Yeah, and I feel like...
Also, I was all about those books.
Oh my god, my life was over when I finished the last one. I was like, well, what's the point in being on Earth anymore? Because the books are done.
And then the movies I thought were so fucking funny because I just thought they were not good.
I liked certain aspects of the movies, but then other parts I was just like... This is happening.
Yeah.
Muse had some great songs.
I was gonna say the soundtrack to all of those movies is so good.
Fucking solid.
So good, especially Eclipse. I think that one has my favorite soundtrack.
I can't even remember them, like, separating them. But yeah, Twilight was fucking great, and I'm so sick of people in the fucking goth subculture feeling like you can't like Twilight.
Because it's not cool.
You know what? Like whatever the fuck you want, even if a part of you thinks that it's kind of lame.
You can like Lestat and Edward.
Yes, you can.
You can.
I just hate people that bash on Twilight because it's popular to bash on Twilight. Why don't you just say, I do not like Twilight, and that is okay if you like Twilight, instead of acquiring it as a goddamn personality trait.
Yeah.
Where anytime someone's like, you're like, fuck Twilight. You sound so fucking stupid.
I hate when people are offended by other people's, like, fandom interests, and I realize that it's because people attach way too much of their identities to these fictional universes, and it's like, stop it. Stop that.
But he sparkles. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, that's cute. Like,
God.
so I put on highlight. He just has full body highlight.
That's not like deadly or like masculine enough to be a fucking vampire.
It's not cool.
Just shut the fuck up.
Yeah. I do definitely want to say like a gigantic thank you to everybody who has watched and listened to the show so far.
We've gotten so much positive feedback from you guys, and we were like, wow, people
so good.
People like what we're putting out there. They didn't think it was stupid.
Yeah, like no one was like, this is actually dumb.
You guys should just fucking shut up.
Just fucking quit.
That'll come eventually, but we're ready for it.
Yeah, we're ready.
And a serious big thank you to the people that donated to our.
Yes.
Is it coffee? Do we call it coffee?
I think it's coffee.
It's like a
Ko-fi coffee.
It's the little like buy me a coffee link that's at the bottom of our videos where you can donate anything if you want to. We're super excited to get the prints made.
Yes.
To mail out.
Yes.
To the people that qualified for that.
Right.
And wow, we're kind of like blown away.
Definitely blown away. So if you would like to support us, it's really greatly appreciated. We are spending a lot of time on this, but the best way to support us for sure is to share it and get more people listening to it also.
Yes. If you know someone, like if you hear this and you know someone that would benefit from hearing it, tag them on our Instagram post or just send the link directly to them. Like we want this to be helpful for other people.
Absolutely. I was gonna say another thing, but I feel like I know. Thank you also to everybody who's commented on our posts and let us know what you thought and what your takeaways were from the first episode. It's so exciting that people had takeaways from it, and that people are actually getting value out of it. It feels really good. And we definitely love hearing from you. So just let us know what you think of this episode too, and we're gonna keep making them.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's it.
Oh my god, are we done?
We did another episode. Our website is gsswshow.com.
And you can find us on Instagram at GSSW Show and Twitter at GSSW Show.
Yep. That's where we are. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.